Imagine standing on a world that feels like it has been scorched by the breath of a dying star. The sky isn't the blue you're used to. It is a sickly, bruised yellow, thick with sulfur clouds that swirl like bruised skin.
And above you, there's this huge, angry red sun just hanging there.
Yeah,
It's not comforting at all. It feels oppressive.
exactly. And the landscape looks like it has been chewed up and spat out by geology itself. We were talking about Earth, but not the Earth of coffee shops and, traffic jams and green parks.
No, this is the ghost of Earth.
It's a barren, desolate future where the few remaining plants rustle with this brittle, dead sound, and the rocks themselves are twisted into these nightmare shapes. It's a place where silence isn't peaceful, it's predatory.
You feel like you're being watched.
Constantly. And the only break in that oppressive silence is the leathery flapping of unseen things moving in the freezing mist.
It's a setting that just, right off the bat, strips away any sense of comfort or familiarity. Usually when we talk about, say, post-apocalyptic fiction, there's a sense of reclaiming the world.
Yeah.
Nature taking back the cities, green vines on skyscrapers.
Right, a sort of romantic ruin.
Exactly. But here, the environment itself feels hostile. It's almost alien. It sets a very specific, claustrophobic stage for the events we are going to unpack today. It's an environment that basically screams, "You are not welcome here," before a single word is even spoken.
That is the backdrop for today's deep dive. We are exploring the events depicted in Ian Marter's novelization of Doctor Who and the Sontaran Experiment.
And that's an important distinction to make, the novelization.
It really is. Now, I know some of you might be picturing the TV show, the scarf, the teeth, the curls, but we are looking specifically at the book today. And the book, well, it takes the premise and injects a level of grit and sensory detail that 1970s television cameras just couldn't capture.
Oh, absolutely.
It transforms a studio set into a visceral, breathing nightmare.
That's a crucial distinction. Novelizations from this era often act as a kind of director's cut of the story, or maybe the writer's true vision. And Ian Marter, who, actually played the character Harry Sullivan in the show, he wrote this novelization.
Which gives him such a unique perspective.
It does, and he brings a very visceral, almost survival horror tone to the narrative. It isn't just a sci-fi romp about running down corridors. This is a story about torture, physical resilience, and the clash between a moral, intellectual force, the Doctor, and a creature of pure scientific cruelty.
Yeah.
Martyr captures the internal monologues, the smells, the textures, the feeling of the cold things that simply can't be conveyed on a screen from that era.
So that's our mission today. We are going to dissect this confrontation between the Time Lord and a sadistic alien surveyor. We need to understand the physiology and military strategy of the Sontarans because they are fascinatingly gross and efficient.
They really are.
And we need to analyze the resilience of the human spirit when it is pushed to the absolute breaking point. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's start with the arrival. The TARDIS lands, but it's not exactly a smooth entrance, is it?
Not at all. And the immediate visual is so striking. They materialize in a perfect circle formed by 9 corroded metallic spheres.
9 of them.
Yeah, the geometry is perfect,
Wow.
which immediately suggests intelligence, design, intent. But the spheres themselves are ancient, peeling, and decaying. It creates a dissonance right from the start.
So it's not a welcoming monument.
Not in the slightest. And when the Doctor, Sarah Jane Smith, and Harry Sullivan step out, they aren't met with a greeting party. They are met with that wasteland we described. And almost immediately, Marter uses this setting to play a trick on the characters and, on the reader.
Right, because the Doctor starts fiddling with his instruments, looking at the layout of the ruins, and he drops this bombshell. He claims they've landed in Piccadilly Circus.
Can you imagine?
He's pointing out these rocky outcrops and saying, "Oh, look, that's Nelson's Column," or "That's Trafalgar Square over there." But to Sarah and Harry, and to us visualizing it, it's just moss, reeds, and jagged rocks. It's completely, utterly unrecognizable.
It is such a powerful narrative device. By anchoring this alien landscape to a specific iconic location in London, the story emphasizes the sheer scale of the devastation. If the Doctor had just said, "We are in a ruined city," it's generic.
We've seen that 1,000 times.
Exactly. But saying this lump of moss is Nelson's Column tells us that this isn't just a bad neighborhood. This is the tomb of civilization. It disorients you. It tells us that time has done its work here. Everything we know, everything we consider permanent stone, history, monuments, is gone.
It's all just dust and biology now.
Right, but before they can really process the tragedy of that, the plot kicks into gear with a classic problem. the TARDIS vanishes.
1 minute it's there, the old blue box just sort of swaying in the wind, and the next, poof, gone.
Just evaporates.
Now, usually this is where panic sets in. Imagine being stranded in a hostile future with no way home. But the Doctor goes straight into scientist mode. He starts examining those spheres we mentioned. He doesn't panic, he gets curious.
He immediately identifies them as a triphasic, triple-field transmat system. Now that sounds like a bunch of technobabble, and it is, but let's break it down to understand the mechanism.
Please do.
Essentially, it's a matter transport system that relies on a specific geometric configuration. Those 9 spheres create a localized energy field. The machinery, which was dormant or perhaps in standby mode, woke up, sensed the specific Artron energy signature of the TARDIS, and just kidnapped it.
So it's targeted.
Absolutely targeted. It likely transported the TARDIS up to a ship or another station in orbit. This immediately forces the group to split up. The Doctor, being the Doctor, stays behind to try and hack the system, to understand the technology, while Harry and Sarah go to explore.
And this split is where the atmosphere shifts from mystery to full-on dread. Marter does an incredible job describing the sensory experience of this wasteland for Sarah and Harry. It isn't just visual, it's the heat, the smell of sulfur, and those leathery flapping sounds overhead.
It's that feeling of being prey.
Exactly. They are being hunted before they even know there is a predator. It feels like a nature documentary gone horribly wrong.
It's classic horror pacing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You isolate the characters, you remove their safety net, in this case the TARDIS, and then you introduce the environment itself as an enemy.
Yeah, the ground is described as treacherous, uneven, covered in slippery moss and sharp flints. Every single step is a risk.
And poor Harry Sullivan serves as our physical anchor to this world. He's the Doctor's muscle. Ostensibly, he's a naval officer, a doctor in his own right. But in this environment, he's totally out of his depth. He's also a bit clumsy.
Clumsy is putting it politely.
Yeah.
He's wandering around marveling at these giant berries, which Sarah quite rightly points out are probably poisonous mutations.
Of course they are.
And then literal slapstick meets horror. He falls into a hole. But it's not just a random sinkhole, is it? It's something far more sinister.
No, and this is the first concrete clue that they are not alone. It was a camouflaged pit. Someone had deliberately covered it with reeds and light debris.
Oh, that's chilling.
It changes the dynamic immediately. They aren't just exploring ruins, they're walking through a hunting ground. Traps imply a trapper.
A trapper who is expecting visitors.
Precisely. And Harry's fall takes him from the cold, misty surface down into this subterranean labyrinth that is hot, sulfurous, and bubbling with lava.
It's a literal descent into the underworld. The contrast is so visceral. Up above, it's all freezing mist and biting wind. Down below, it's a sauna of volcanic gases.
Marter really leans into the sensory details here. Harry's crawling through these tunnels, seeing bubbling mud that looks like boiling porridge, which is just a disgusting image.
Ugh.
And it really highlights the instability of the planet. The Earth is literally tearing itself apart from the inside out. But while Harry is having his little spelunking nightmare, we need to talk about who else is on this rock. Because it turns out Earth isn't quite as uninhabited as they first thought.
Right. This is where we are introduced to the Galsic colonists.
And what a sorry state they're in.
They're in a wretched state. We have Kranz, Iraq, and their leader, Virl. They are hiding in the rocks, emaciated, wearing these ragged spacesuits that are literally falling off them. They look like ghosts.
They're the remnants of a failed expedition, and they have been reduced to essentially scavenging rats in the ruins of their ancestors. It's so tragic.
Their backstory is a trope we've seen, but it works so well here. They came from Galsic Colony 7, lured to Earth by a fake distress signal.
So they were trapped, just like Harry and Sarah.
Exactly. Their ship was destroyed, and now they are stranded, just being picked off one by one. But the most interesting and frankly disturbing figure among them has to be Roth.
Roth is absolutely essential to understanding the stakes. He is basically a case study in trauma. He's a survivor who managed to escape the alien threat, but his mind has just shattered.
He's broken.
Completely. When Sarah finds him, he isn't grateful. He's terrified. He's driven half mad by fear. He just keeps warning her about the alien and the scavenger.
He's like the town crier in a horror movie, the one nobody listens to until it's too late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roth represents the psychological toll of what's happening on this planet. He's not a hero. He's a broken victim. He's what happens when you stare into the abyss for too long.
And his fear is entirely justified because of the scavenger. This thing sounds like an absolute nightmare. Can you describe this machine? Because it seems to be the primary way the antagonist interacts with the world, at least initially.
Yeah, it's not a person, it's a tool.
Right.
It is a robot, dome-shaped, bell-sized, hovering, bristling with all these antennae and probes. It hunts humans, captures them with these metallic tentacles, and just drags them off.
Hmm.
But the most terrifying aspect, I think, is the sound, a relentless humming and clicking.
Oh, that would be unnerving.
It's mechanical, cold, and brutally efficient. The scavenger acts as the eyes and hands of the primary villain. It dehumanizes the entire capture process. You aren't being arrested by a guard, you are being collected by a machine.
Like an insect specimen.
Exactly. It treats humans like specimens to be gathered, not enemies to be fought. It glides over the terrain where humans stumble, which just highlights the technological gap.
That brings us to the human dynamic within this little group. We have Vril, the leader of these colonists. And honestly, Vril is a bit sketchy from the start.
More than a bit.
He's acting strangely, trying to steer people away from certain areas, being evasive. Why is the leader of a survival group acting against the interests of his own people?
Because Vril has made a deal with the devil. We eventually learn that he believes he can save his own skin by handing over the doctor and his companions to the alien.
The ultimate betrayal.
It's a classic traitor arc, but it adds this layer of complexity. You have the external threat of the alien monster and the internal threat of human betrayal. Vril is operating under the delusion that the alien will honor a bargain.
Which is just so naive.
It highlights a recurring theme in the story, the underestimation of the enemy's cruelty. Vril thinks he's dealing with a soldier who understands terms of surrender or negotiation. He is very, very wrong. He's projecting human rules of engagement onto a species that has none.
So let's talk about that enemy. We've been teasing him. His name is Styr, and he is a Sontaran. Now, for the listeners who might not be deep into the lore, can you paint a picture of Styr? Because Harry, when he first sees him, thinks he's looking at a golem or Humpty Dumpty.
And that description is oddly accurate in a terrifying way.
It's almost comical, but the reality is anything but.
Not at all. Sontarans are short, squat, and incredibly dense. They have no necks. Their dome-shaped heads sit directly on these massive shoulders. Their skin is reptilian, grayish, almost like pumice stone.
And they have 3 fingers.
Talons, really, 3-fingered talons. Marter describes Styr as having a toad-like face with damp, working jaws. He is physically repulsive, a creature of pure muscle and function. He isn't built for aesthetics. He is built for high gravity and total war.
And the doctor gives us the biological breakdown, which is just as gross. He says they have lungs like spongy steel wool and brains like seaweed, which sounds like an insult.
But the doctor means it literally. Let's unpack that physiology a bit because it's fascinating.
Please.
Their physiology is totally geared toward war. The steel wool lungs suggest a respiratory system designed to filter out heavy particulates, smoke, toxins, perfect for a battlefield environment. They can breathe in a highly polluted or thin atmospheres that would kill a human instantly.
So a walking chemical filter.
Essentially, the seaweed brain likely refers to a decentralized or highly redundant neural structure. Much harder to damage with a headshot, perhaps. It's not a single vulnerable organ like ours.
And they have a very specific weak point.
The probic vent. It's at the back of the neck. It's a small interface. Essentially, their charging port and nutrition intake valve all in one.
So they are like living batteries that need to be recharged. They don't sit down and eat a sandwich.
Exactly. They consume pure energy directly. Sontarans are a clone race. Every single Sontaran is a soldier, bred in batches of millions of these hatcheries. They're uniform. They're identical.
A race of perfect soldiers.
But Styr is interesting because his title is Sontaran Military Assessor. He isn't just a grunt. He's a scientist. His mission isn't just to kill humans. It is to gather data.
For what purpose?
The Sontarans are planning a mass invasion of the galaxy in alliance with another species called the Hyperioi. Styr is on Earth to answer a simple question. Are the remaining humans a threat? Is this planet worth the resources to conquer? Or will the natives put up a fight?
And this is where we get into the really heavy stuff. The experiments. Because Styr answers that question in the most gruesome way possible. He doesn't just scan them or, look up their history on Wikipedia. He captures them and tortures them to test their absolute limits.
It is the philosophy of cruelty applied to science. Styr views humans purely as specimens. There is no malice in the emotional sense. He doesn't hate them. It's actually worse than that.
It's indifference.
Total indifference. To him, a human scream is just data. He wants to measure physical resistance and moral strength in the same way a structural engineer tests the load-bearing capacity of a bridge by adding weight until it breaks.
That's a horrifyingly good analogy.
He is methodical, recording his findings with a chilling lack of empathy. It's all just numbers on a report for him.
Okay, let's break down the first major experiment, which involves Sarah Jane Smith. The scavenger drags her to Styr's ship, and he puts her in this neuromanipulation chamber. It's described as an alcove in the rock with wire veins running through it, and he basically hacked her brain. What is the goal here?
This is an assessment of psychological stability and fear response. He's not interested in her physical strength yet. He wants to know what breaks the human mind, so he stimulates her subconscious fears. It creates these hallucinations that are completely indistinguishable from reality for the victim.
So she isn't just seeing things.
No, she is feeling them. She experiences drowning in a raging sea, feeling the cold water filling her lungs, the panic, the inability to breathe. Then instantly the simulation shifts to scorching heat, a desert where her skin feels like it's peeling off from dehydration. It's a total sensory assault.
And then the ants. I have to say, reading this part made my skin crawl. Giant ants. Why ants?
It is horrific imagery. The text describes her seeing the ground moving, realizing it's millions of ants, growing larger and larger, mandibles clicking and just stripping the flesh from her bones. It taps into such a primal fear of being consumed, of being small and helpless against a swarm.
And she just...
Completely. She's screaming, totally broken by this vision. And Styr's reaction, he's disappointed. He deems her puny because she collapses under the stress. He notes that she has a strong reaction to small stimuli, like the ants, but he misses the point entirely.
How so?
He sees her terror as a structural weakness, rather than a natural biological response to simulated death. He mistakes survival instinct for cowardice. He just doesn't have the framework to understand it.
It's chilling. He's just taking notes while she's screaming, "Subject displays high anxiety, note for file." It's pure bureaucratic evil.
It is. But then we have the second experiment, which involves the colonists, Viral, Kranz, and Iraq. This one is, well, it's devious. It involves something called the gravity bar. This feels like something out of a twisted game show.
It really does. What's the setup?
This is Styr testing loyalty, or what he calls group cohesion. He pins Viral, the traitor, under a heavy bar made of Tyrolean metal. We'll come back to that metal. It's very important. Then he chains Kranz and Iraq to the ends of the bar. The only way to keep the bar from crushing Viral's chest is for Kranz and Iraq to lift it.
And remember, Viral has just betrayed them. Styr knows this. He wants to see if humans will exert themselves to save a leader who sold them out.
And he makes it quantifiable. He increases the weight. It starts at 100 kilograms, then 175 kilograms, then 250 kilograms. He's literally measuring the weight of forgiveness or loyalty or maybe just human stubbornness.
He's measuring their morality in pounds per square inch.
Precisely. And Styr finds it fascinatingly illogical. From his perspective, why waste energy saving a non-functional unit? Why save a traitor? To a Sontaran, who is a clone bred for the collective where the individual doesn't matter, this individualistic morality is baffling.
He sees it as a bug in the system.
Exactly. He's looking for a strategic weakness, human sentimentality, but he fails to see the strength in that cohesion. He sees them lifting the bar and thinks, inefficient. We see them lifting the bar and think, heroic. It's a fundamental clash of worldviews. He believes that if he breaks their bodies, he breaks their spirit. But the humans prove that their spirit can outlast their muscles.
There is also a brief mention of a third experiment, or rather the aftermath of one, which is just as grim.
The dehydration test.
Yeah. Harry finds a young crewman chained to a rock, just dying of dehydration. Styr was testing physical resilience to lack of water. It shows the sheer thoroughness of his cruelty. He's testing the mind, the social bond, and the body. He's covering all his bases.
It emphasizes the Sontaran worldview. War is the only reality. Anything that doesn't serve the war effort is inefficiency. Styr is trying to optimize the coming invasion by understanding the raw materials of the enemy. If humans die of thirst in 2 days, that helps him plan logistics. It's a dark, pragmatic calculus.
So, while Styr is playing mad scientist, the doctor is doing what the doctor does best, investigating. And he's doing it with his pockets full of junk. How does the doctor tackle a threat like this? He doesn't have a gun, he has a screwdriver and a scarf.
Well, the doctor's approach is the absolute antithesis of Styr's. Styr uses brute force and high-tech torture. The doctor uses observation, wit, and improvisation. He identifies the metal Styr is using as Tyrolean.
You said that would be important.
It is. It's a rare, semi-organic metal that reacts to sound and vibration. This is a crucial plot device. The Sontarans use it for everything, their gravity bars, their robots, even parts of their ship. They see its strength as an asset.
But the doctor sees a weakness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He realizes he can weaponize that property. He takes a piece of Tyrolean he found and uses his sonic screwdriver to create a feedback loop. He essentially screams at the metal with sound waves until the scavenger robot gets confused and just shuts down.
It's such a classic doctor move, using the enemy's strength against them. The Sontarans built all their tech on this metal because it's strong, but the doctor finds the one frequency that makes it brittle.
It creates this David versus Goliath dynamic. The doctor knows he can't win a fistfight with Styr. Sontarans are bred for combat. Time Lords are, well, not. So he has to outsmart him. He realizes Styr is sending data back to a strategic council, specifically to a marshal.
And the doctor decides to bluff.
Oh, the bluff is magnificent. He gets on the comms and just taunts the marshal. He claims he has a diary of future history and that the invasion is doomed to fail. He's acting so confident, so dismissive.
Oh, you're invading. How quaint. My book says you lose.
It's pure psychological warfare right back at them, and it buys them time. The Sontarans are rigid thinkers. The idea that someone knows the future disrupts their strategic planning. They pause. But eventually, it leads to the inevitable confrontation. The doctor challenges Styr to single combat.
Now, on the surface, this looks absolutely suicidal. Styr is a tank. The doctor is lanky. But the doctor has a hypothesis he's been observing.
He's noticed something about Styr's movements, hasn't he? Styr is heavy. He's sluggish. He's dragging his feet a bit.
Right. Earth gravity is higher than what Styr is comfortable with for prolonged periods.
Exactly. The Sontaran physiology, while incredibly strong, burns energy at a rapid rate in this environment. Styr needs to return to his ship frequently to recharge at that energizer we talked about. So the doctor's plan isn't to beat Styr into submission.
It's to exhaust him.
It's a battle of endurance, not strength. A war of attrition.
It's the rope-a-dope strategy. The duel takes place in this rocky arena. Styr is swinging these massive haymakers, smashing rocks, firing a laser weapon built into his arm, and the doctor is just dancing.
He's a blur.
He's dodging, weaving, using his scarf to blind Styr, and all the while he's insulting him. He calls him an unspeakable abomination.
And the insults serve a purpose beyond just wit. They're tactical. They make Styr angry.
And anger is inefficient.
Right. Anger increases his metabolic rate, which drains his energy even faster. The doctor is hacking Styr's biology just by being annoying. Every missed punch, every roar of frustration brings Styr closer to empty. It's a brilliant tactical dismantling of a superior physical foe.
And while the doctor is playing Matador with a space rhino, Harry Sullivan has a job to do. This is Harry's moment to shine. The doctor sent him on a stealth mission.
This is huge for his character. Usually Harry is the one needing rescue, but here he is the active agent. He's the key to the whole plan.
So Harry has to infiltrate the Sontaran Sphere, their spacecraft. What's it like inside?
The description of the interior is fascinating. It's like a honeycomb, warm, buzzing, almost organic. It feels more like a hive than a ship. It smells of ozone and this alien musk.
So not your standard sci-fi spaceship corridors.
Not at all. And Harry has to dodge a miniature version of the scavenger robot inside, which is terrifying in a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of way. It reinforces that the Sontaran technology is pervasive. Even the inside of their ship is watching you.
And he has to perform a very specific act of sabotage. The doctor gave him these complex instructions involving colored keys. He has to find and remove a component called the catalyzer filter program panel.
It sounds like technobabble, and it is, but what it actually does is remove the safety valve.
Explain that.
Think of the Energizer like a pressure cooker. The machine is designed to feed energy into the Sontaran probic vent at a regulated, safe rate. It controls the flow. Harry essentially turns the regulator off. He pulls the panel just as Styr comes crashing back into the ship, exhausted from the fight with the doctor.
Okay, this is the climax. Styr is wrecked. He's tired. His probic vent is damaged from the fight, and he's desperate for a recharge. He thinks he's safe. He plugs himself into the Energizer.
But because Harry stole the safety filter, well, the reaction is not a simple spark.
What happens?
It is a nucleoenzymosis reaction. Essentially, instead of recharging Styr, the machine force feeds him pure, unregulated energy. It overloads his entire cellular structure. Styr begins to expand.
Oh, that's grotesque.
It is. He grows to giant proportions, glowing white-hot. His skin stretches, his features distort. His voice slows down into this deep demonic drawl as the physics of his vocal cords change. He basically becomes a living nuclear bomb, consuming himself from the inside out.
Marter writes this vividly Styr, swelling up like a balloon, but terrifying. And then what?
And then he's sucked into a vortex of his own making. He implodes. He and the ship just shrivel into piles of smoldering metal. It's a gruesome end, but very fitting. He was consumed by his own need for power, he wanted energy, and he got too much of it.
So the immediate threat is gone. The Sontaran invasion is called off, or at least delayed indefinitely, because the scout failed to report back. The Marshal assumes the planet is too dangerous or the data was bad. But we need to look at the character beats here, because the explosion isn't the only resolution.
No, the fallout is just as important.
Right. Let's look at the Doctor first. There's a moment during the fight, or maybe leading up to it, where he reveals he played a dirty trick. He poured whiskey into Styr's suit vent.
Yes. The Doctor reveals he used a wee dram of whiskey earlier in the story. He managed to splash it into Styr's probic vent. The alcohol intoxicated the Sontaran, making him clumsy and even angrier, but it also did something scientifically bizarre. Within the logic of the book, it reversed the polarity of a gravity device the Doctor had in his pocket, saving him from a lethal fall.
That is pure Doctor Who.
Logic.
It absolutely is. A mix of chemistry, luck, and pure whimsy. But it also highlights the Doctor's disdain for Styr. He doesn't respect him as a warrior. He treats him like a drunken lout. He reduces this terrifying alien conqueror to a stumbling drunk.
And then there's Sarah and Harry. We've talked about Harry saving the day, which proves he's not just a bumbler. He followed instructions perfectly under extreme pressure. But Sarah, she went through hell. The torture, the hallucinations.
She did. Yet by the end, she's the one using the sonic screwdriver to free the Galsic prisoners from their chains. She bounces back.
It's that resilience Styr couldn't measure, isn't it? That's it exactly. She was catatonic with fear in the machine, but when she's out, she's active, she's helping, she proves Styr's assessment completely wrong. Humans aren't defined by their breaking point, they're defined by their recovery. Styr saw her fear and assumed she was broken forever. He just didn't understand the elasticity of the human mind.
And finally, Vril, the traitor. He doesn't make it.
No, but he gets a redemption of sorts. In the end, as Styr is staggering around, Vril tries to attack him physically. It's a completely futile gesture. He's weak, injured, and Styr swats him away like a fly.
But he tried.
He died trying to fight the enemy he previously tried to appease. It resolves his arc. He realizes far too late that you can't bargain with a Sontaran, so he chooses to die as a human. It's a tragic end, but it restores a shred of his dignity.
So the dust settles. Styr is a pile of ash. The Galsec survivors, Kranz and Arak, decide to wait for their own people rather than trusting the Doctor's fixed transmat system.
Can you blame them?
Honestly, no. Given what they've been through, they are sticking with what they know. They'd rather wait in the ruins than trust any more alien technology.
It's a sad but understandable choice.
And the TARDIS crew. They step into the transmat circle, which the Doctor fixes using a panel from Styr's ship, by the way.
Of course he does.
And they vanish, leaving the wasteland empty again. It's a somber ending. The evil is defeated, but the world is still dead. The sun is still red. The silence returns.
It reinforces the tone we started with. This wasn't a save the world story. The world was already lost. This was a save the soul story. It was about proving that even in a desolate, hopeless place, human values like loyalty and courage still matter.
The Doctor didn't fix the planet.
No, but he validated the humanity of the survivors.
So here's where it gets really interesting for me. Styr's entire mission was an experiment. He was applying the scientific method to warfare. But where did he go so wrong? Was it just arrogance?
I think it was a category error, a fundamental miscalculation. Styr thought he was measuring hardware muscle density, lung capacity, pain thresholds. But he was fighting software ingenuity, loyalty, hope, spite.
He tried to measure human strength in kilograms, but you can't weigh bravery.
You absolutely can't. The Sontarans are a clone race. They are identical hardware. They assume everyone else functions the same way. The variable they couldn't account for was individuality. The Doctor won not because he was stronger, but because he was unpredictable. Harry won because he was underestimated. Sarah won because she refused to stay broken.
It's the ultimate triumph of the chaotic individual over the rigid collective. Styr had a plan, a protocol, and a checklist. The Doctor had a scarf, a bag of jelly babies, and a very clumsy friend with a stolen circuit board.
And in this universe, the chaotic element usually wins because it can adapt. The Sontaran cannot adapt. He can only follow his programming. When the parameters changed, when the gravity bar was lifted against his expectations, when the robot malfunctioned, Styr didn't know how to improvise, he just got angry.
Which, as we've established, was the worst thing he could do.
The least efficient thing he could do.
Absolutely. So What does this all mean for us? I think it's a powerful reminder that metrics don't tell the whole story. You can have all the data in the world, like Styr did, and still completely misunderstand what you're looking at if you ignore the human element.
Well said. Styr looked at Sarah Jane Smith and saw a puny creature terrified of ants. We look at her and see a woman who faced an absolute nightmare and stood back up. Data without context is just noise.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the wasteland. It's a grim story, but one with a shiny Tyrolean metal lining.
Indeed. It's a testament to the fact that even at the end of the world, character matters.
Before you go, here's something to chew on. The Sontarans are a clone race, convinced of their superiority because they are identical and unified. We are messy, different, and often at odds with each other. But if the Sontarans ever decided to stop cloning and start evolving, would they lose their greatest strength, or would they finally become unstoppable? Something to think about.
Thanks for listening, and stay curious.